Today I'm here with Giovanni, and we are gonna discuss two main topics today. We are gonna start talking about the current government, Italian government, Governo Meloni, which is now the second long-lasting government in Italian history after a Berlusconi government. I don't remember which one. I think Berlusconi
Not sure.
the third probably. I don't remember. So, anyways, Meloni is right now, as I say, the government of Meloni is the second long-lasting government, and it might become also the first one. I'm not sure,
Yeah, potentially.
or close to be the first one. And we are gonna a little bit discuss about the meaning of this and about this government in general. And I don't know, Giovanni, what you think about it.
Well, I think that of course there's a good way to to describe this situation, which is stability. Of course, everyone talks about stability. So, like having a stable government is a sort of um, positive thing for economy, geopolitics, finance, all this kind of things. It's like a way to reassure the rest of the world that Italy is in a stable situation, at least politically. Um, it is something that gives the opportunity uh, to a government to implement long-term strategies, uh, at least in theory. Then to practice, we can discuss about it. So I would say it's generally a good thing, a positive sign. Um, but specifically for this case, I personally think that the government is not really taking advantage of this long-lasting government, basically. So I think there's a lot of things that could have been done, but we are still here, looking at each other like, so when is this gonna happen? Like all the promises that during the electoral campaign uh, marketed to the people, to the country, and now that you are in the place where you should make these things happen, even after 4 years, not much of what you said has actually happened. So it's the big gap between what you say you're gonna do and what you're actually doing, especially in a situation where you actually had the time to do that. So it's a good thing for perception, for markets, I would say, geopolitics, probably. Um, it's like a sort of leverage. It's a good position to be in. You are like communicating safety and stability to the foreign countries. But I personally think that there's a lot that we are still waiting from this government to happen, and it's not happening, and time is running. Uh, so we'll see. What about you? What is your view?
I mean, yeah. I agree with what you said, and just to give you a bit of context, so why is interesting to talk about the stability of government? It doesn't sound like a very interesting topic, but in the Italian, historically in Italy, the governments they are not long lasting. That's why Meloni is the second
Yeah.
long lasting, and the reason is that there is a massive fragmentation, I would say, amongst the political parties. So frequently the governments are formed by several parties. We
Yeah,
may
like alliances. Yeah.
like alliance, yeah, very fragile, I would say, alliances. So
Yeah.
and
Most of the times. Yeah.
and so usually there was a massive changes in governments during the 5 year, because in Italy we elect the parliament for 5 years and we can have hypothetically an endless number of governments during those 5 years. So at the moment in the last years there is a tendency of sort of stability, not maybe for the whole 5 years, but a better stability than in the past. At the moment, I think that the reason why the stability of the government is looks so strong is also because there is no an opposition on the other side, so there is no strong opposition that could sort of jeopardize the stability of the government. So it
Yeah.
was very easy for the government to stay in power, even
Yeah.
though they had and they have inside the government some sort of conflict, I would say, especially with one of the three
Yeah.
members of this government, that is the Matteo Salvini and the Lega, which are probably the weakest point of the government. I mean, is the party inside this coalition that is making is more threatening the stability of the government. Let me put it in this
Yeah.
way. On the other hand, you mentioned about that the stability allows many things to do many things to be to look sort of better and more reliable to the on the international at the international tables, etc. But to be honest, in this case, this government didn't do much, and maybe it's also it can be also a reason why they are stable. They are stable doing nothing, so
Yeah.
they're sort of the non the fact that there is no movement is making a sort of it's creating a sort of stability, and
Yeah.
I don't know how it's gonna be from here to the end of the 5 years. So that is next year we will have the election. Probably the government is gonna stay where it is now and without doing much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This is the trick. It looks like that to be stable, you don't have to do much. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is.
I agree with you. I think the risk of uh, going from stability to absolute like passiveness, like not moving anything, not having the will or the strength or the courage to actually uh, do something that is really meaningful and is impacting the real world is what is missing. I think like if you want to see in a malicious way, it's like they did the bare minimum to just keep the status quo, just keep things going without risking their heads, let's say, or their seats in the parliament. Um, because yeah, my personal feeling about this is that I suppose I give it almost for granted that this government is gonna last until the end of their mandate, so until the next election next year. Um, and the feeling I have is that nothing really happened in Italy on a political perspective in the last 5 years. I mean, nothing really meaningful, nothing that is that has a long, um, like a long lasting strategy, like something that is future proof. It's like populistic laws like the rave. One of the first one were like banning raves or big meetups, which is to a foreigner that is potentially listening to this news, would sounds like something crazy. Like, what is that? Like, why is the government even like worrying about this? Like, I wouldn't. It would be in the situation we are in Italy with all the big known problem we have. That would be the last thing I would think about. Um, so yeah, they moved into this kind of political decisions and topics that were not risky. And I don't know. I can't tell what's the reason for this. If it's lack of uh, like they are not competent enough to do meaningful uh, renovation to I don't know, economics, social issues, even migration. Like we have this thing of the migration centers in Albania, which is, I mean, even that. Let's be serious. That's not the way you tackle immigration. Immigration is a very complex, wide phenomenon, and it's not opening to uh, like immigration camps, which it's like I don't even know how to describe to put people inside. That's not the way you tackle immigration. Um, so yeah, it's like they've been floating, I feel, uh, around, but without really like engaging in something meaningful and impactful for the country, which is actually confirmed by, for example, the data on growth, which is like 0 point something, and the government during these 4 years they had PNRR, so lots of funds from the European Union to spend to integrate very bold maneuvers like in economy, politics, like any kind of things potentially, but they didn't take any risk in doing something that could make them, I don't know,
Yeah,
lose
if
popularity maybe.
if I can jump in here, I think we also discussed this previously, but there are two main things here to say. The first one is that because of the overall economic situation, and maybe it's probably better to say financial situation. So the finance of the Italian government are pretty bad,
Yeah,
which means that
it's an historic thing. Yeah,
it doesn't give much freedom to a government in spending freedom. Let's call it like that. So, and because usually in the electoral campaign during when we have the election in Italy, the promises they tend to be spending. We will spend money for this and that. There are differences between left and right where they want to spend the money,
yeah,
but by then there is this common thing that we will spend a lot of money,
yeah,
and there is no money at the moment. So the first point to underline is this one, which means that this government, what they did was simply chasing the news, chasing the vibe, if you want, and like you mentioned the rave, for example, and other things. They you simply chasing the last news and see if doing something about it is in some sort of attracting the vote of people or is simply a propaganda way. On the other hand, I think that the main bet of this government was the referendum, the justice referendum that was in March, and these would have been the main things done by this government.
yeah,
The
yeah,
referendum went bad for the government. The constitutional reform didn't get approved, and so what was the main thing done at the end of the day by this government is not there. It didn't
yeah,
go through. So yeah, we are in a bit of, I don't know, weird situation in which they promise to spend money for many different things that then they ended up having no money to spend, and they could do very little, and even at the end of the day that very little is not even approved. Yeah, so
yeah,
because the referendums say the opposite, uh, and here we are now. So I don't know. This is for me is the,
yeah,
and I'm not. I'm just to
yeah,
just to conclude. I don't think that the next time whoever is gonna win the next election is gonna do more. Probably it's gonna be
yeah.
something quite similar. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, the history of the recent governments is not promising. I think Meloni government was successful in a way of demonstrating that a charismatic and strong leader can hold together a coalition. But sadly, they didn't do much more than that. So the good take is, it's good for credibility, but in the real world for real people, nothing much changed. It's been just a very flat uh, 4 years, I would say.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now to move on another the second topic that is sort of correlated to this one because
Yeah.
we can say something done by the government at the end of the day. We we must spend few words for a recent presidential pardon. I think this is the way to say it in English, and given to a woman, Nicole Minetti. Just I will briefly introduce the story, which is funny. In my opinion, is a bit ridiculous that
I mean, it's sad but funny.
it's even a bit ridiculous that after all this year we are hearing this name again. To be honest,
My God.
basically this culture came up in the news in the Italian news several years ago. When Berlusconi was in power, and it was a time of the famous, worldwide famous, so we don't have to explain what they are, I guess, Bunga Bunga parties. And Nicole Minetti at that time, I think she was in the Milan City Council, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah,
and
something like that.
she was involved in organizing these parties with several escorts, we can clearly say it. And there was a scandal about and Ruby. There was a probably underage escort. I don't know exactly the trial how they ended up, but anyways, because of that,
Yeah, I think she was condemned for like
yeah, she
exploiting
was found guilty. This
minor
this
prostitution, something like that.
exactly, and to favoring prostitution that in Italy is a crime, and she was found guilty, and that's where it comes in the presidential pardon. Now, just to explain, the president, which is not a member of any of the party that are at the moment supporting the government, but the pardon from the president, it depends from the documents provided to the president from the Minister of Justice.
Yeah.
And the president sort of believe the Minister of Justice, believe the papers the papers and documents that he can see and read, and then he gave this presidential pardon. And now there is a sort of discussion in Italy because the reasons behind this presidential pardon, they weren't really strong, they weren't really meaningful, I would say. One of the reasons was that she has to look after a kid, a son with disability. Now it looks like there is no son, or the son is not her son.
It's an adopted child in
It's not even
Uruguay,
yeah,
something like that.
It's not even clear if he's really adopted or whatever what.
Yeah.
So
I
now
mean,
the
it's shady. Yeah.
yeah, it's very shady, and even the president now is asking some sort of clarification.
Yeah, explanation. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is maybe a bit more gossip than anything else. But what do you think about this? Is simply another weird
Um,
stuff in Italy, or?
I am personally very critical about this and different perspective, but the first and main one is, why would the president ever think about giving presidential pardon to a woman that is, I mean, as you said, is like involved in minor prostitution, uh, and has links with the political party and political uh, figures. So I think on a moral level, it's like you are, as part of politics, as part of an institution, you are giving pardon to politicians, basically. So it's a very poor demonstration of the famous said, the law is equal for everyone. But on top of this, another big issue is that Nicole Minetti was never going to jail because the it was already, I think it was already agreed that the, how do you say the pena, can't say the word,
Yeah, the
like
punishment wasn't jail, but
the
was
punishment
yeah, it
wasn't jail, it
was
was like social
social service,
services,
yeah,
like
civil service, something like
stuff
that,
like
yeah.
that. So you are pardoning, like you giving something that is done. It's like a sort of amnesty where you that you give to someone to that is being unlawfully punished, or there's some sort of very important socially relevant uh, or ethically relevant involvement, and you're giving that to an ex-party member that was exploiting prostitution. So I'm like, it's. I mean, nobody wants to say that. Apparently, even in the opposition. But why is that Mattarella even thought about this? I mean, I don't want to be malicious or like think about any weird sort of plan behind things, but it seems to me a very odd situation, and I can't think about anything but some sort of pressure, or I don't know,
Well,
favoritism.
what in my understanding, so we don't know actually the documents that were provided to the president, and I believe that those are fundamental. Without the
Yeah,
knowledge of what is inside of those documents, it is a bit complicated to get a clear understanding of what happened. But we can sort of try to speculate that the reason is that, yeah, Nicole Minetti, she wasn't in jail. She has this social service as punishment, but this obligated her to be in Italy.
yeah,
This son that she has to look after, or supposedly she has to look after, is overseas, is in Uruguay. So here is where the presidential pardon would allow her to look after this son, this kid with disability, even overseas, without worrying about the social service. So again, the problem here um, is debatable if it was convenient or it was something I don't know how to say, something the president should have done or not, considering who is the person we are talking about. So we are not talking
yeah,
about any person. So that one is surely debatable. But it's probably an opinion, like saying, oh, considering who is the character, the history of the character, the political connection of the character of the person, the no pardon should have been granted to this person. This is debatable, and I probably agree. But maybe someone else could say, yeah, considering the son, the kid, etc., the situation, you should consider a presidential pardon. The problem emerges when all the motivation they don't look real, or they at least they are not as they were provided to the president.
yeah,
And if this is true, that we will probably will see in the future, there is a problem because there is no debate at that point. There is no debate
yeah,
if the reason they were enough to grant a presidential pardon. There is not there. This is changing a little bit the situation, and probably the debate is gonna go more in that direction where we really need to see if any there were the reason to grant presidential pardon, and in that case you would be perfectly right. So why the Minister of Justice made all these efforts to have a presidential pardon granted for Nicole Minetti? This is a very interesting question. Why they
yeah,
had to lie to obtain that? This would be the question.
yeah. I get your point, That's just one thing that it keeps coming to my mind, which is remembering that he was not going to jail. Okay, that's the kid supposedly that is not in Italy, but think about how many people are in jail, not with social services, but physically in jail for crimes that are far less serious than this. They have kids, probably maybe real, not real is a bad way to say, because it's not that if you're adopted, you're not real son, but they have kids that are at home, and they cannot see the parents because they're in jail, and they don't get any pardon. And it's fair. It's fair. We cannot pardon every criminal because they have kids. It doesn't make sense. But imagine giving pardon to someone with all the background we just discussed, because she has a kid somewhere. She was not even going to jail. So it's like it's hard to defend. I mean, I agree with you that we do not all the proof, the documentation to know the details, but it seems at least a very sad story of politics that you would hope we went over beyond this kind of politics. I mean, I would have been happy for Nicole Minetti to remain just a sad memory of a sad chapter of our politics.
Yeah.
But apparently we are still there.
But I agree with you. The point here is that if it will be confirmed that these documents they were misleading,
Yeah, that
I mean,
would be
not,
serious.
I mean, not to say false. I mean, I say, let me say misleading, not to say fake or fabricated. Let me say just misleading.
Yeah.
But if it will be confirmed that they were misleading, there is where you have a big scandal, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
it would
that
be
would be the
interesting.
reason for the government to actually fall.
Yeah, or at least to have the Minister of Justice, Carlo Noglio, to assign.
Yeah.
That would be the one thing at least that to. I think that it would be fair to ask for him to step down from as Minister of Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that
At
100%.
least. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Giovanni. If you have no further
Well,
comment on this, we can.
no, I
We
think
can.
we gave a pretty sad
Yeah.
representation of
Quite
Italy in this.
quite sad
It was,
conversation.
maybe next time we try to put
Yeah.
in some good news.
We will try to select some more interesting topic for next time, and so I will say hello to everyone that is listening to this video, and see you
Yeah.
next time.
See ya.
See you.